Bruh, Saturday was easily one of the most. I can't even get it out. I don't. I'm gonna say less. I'm gonna, I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't have a dog in this fight. It's not a rivalry between me and you. I don't care about Michigan, but I did enjoy them busting that ass because I. Oh my God! This is priceless. I didn't even know it was gonna still sting like that, bro. I'm not sorry, not sorry. That was a fun day, and it started with Michigan curb stomping your Buckeyes.
This one hurts.
Go ahead, Michael.
This is
go
bad.
ahead, man. Go ahead. You go ahead.
You know what, man? I gotten to the point. This is a true story. True story. I know all you can bring up all the Michigan, Ohio State lore, and I'm about it. I know the stories of how Woody Hayes, he would be recruiting in Michigan, and he wouldn't stop until he got to Toledo, until he crossed the state line. He wouldn't buy gas in Michigan. This is true. He used to think in practice, especially when Bo Schembechler was there and Woody and Bo, they used to be on the same staff. And so he always was convinced that Bo was spying on him and he would just do all these things. That was back in the day when it was a Big 2 and a Little 8. This was a Big 10. Big 2 and a Little 8. So I know all the stories. I felt for Earl Bruce when they fired him before a Michigan game. Then he tied Michigan. They tied, and that was a big deal. John Cooper got fired, 2-9-1, his record against Michigan. I remember Michigan spoiling our season. Tim Biakabatuka running for 300 yards, not 200, 300 yards. I believe it was in 1995, like all kinds of crazy stuff.
So where does this run?
But I had gotten to the point, Mike, where I lost the tension. The Ohio State-Michigan tension was gone because we used to
Never
spank
thought it
them.
would happen. I know.
We spank
Y'all
them.
owned Harbaugh.
And
Y'all owned
I had
Jim
all
Harbaugh.
the-
Y'all owned the last decade.
All of them, all the
2011?
coaches. I should just laugh at all the coaches. Oh, you got another coach in? Okay, let's see how he does. Okay. I used to build my day around Ohio State, Michigan, but now I've gotten so arrogant. Like Ohio State, Michigan, I knew it was on at noon on Saturday. I said, I got stuff to do. I'll check in. on the game.
You know how that movie ends.
To make sure. Yeah. So it was like 14-13 at halftime. I was like, okay. It's a little close. Then it was like 21-13. It was 28-13.
28-13.
Oh, we got problems. We scored. Then they scored. 35.
So,
okay.
Let me ask you
This
this.
is tough.
Let me ask you
This
this.
is
I wanna speak,
really difficult.
I don't want to speak to the Akron, Ohio kid. I want to ask the reporter, the journalist.
I don't know if I can separate.
If you can,
I don't know if I can separate.
Oh, you can't. Okay, well, all right. Forget.
No, go ahead.
Because you
ask
gotta
me.
admit,
Let's
it's a
see.
good story.
Test me.
It's a better
me,
story.
test me.
First of all, I'm tired of seeing the usual suspects in the playoff. So I was glad to see
Okay.
Oklahoma lose. I was glad to see Ohio State
Yeah.
lose. All right.
That's true. Okay, fair.
We get to see
That's
some
fair.
fresh blood in the college football playoff, potentially, provided Michigan actually takes care of business against Iowa.
That's a big.
You got to admit
that's
it's a better
that's
story.
Big.
So it's a big if.
It'd be a better
It's-
story if Iowa beats Michigan. That's a good
No,
story
it would.
too, right?
For a better story for your purposes, because then you can get back to making fun of them that they couldn't seal the deal.
Right.
But for now, you got Harbaugh finally breaking through against Ohio. Finally,
Good for him.
objectively, right?
Yes.
It's a great story.
Good for him.
Right?
Really.
Okay.
It was good for him.
Because I hadn't
Good for
cared
him.
about
Good
Jim
for him.
Harbaugh for years. I was surprised he lasted this long. Hell, had they played the game last year, maybe he's not there anymore. For crying out loud, he's been so bad against not just Ohio State, but Michigan State for that matter. So I'm happy for Harbaugh. And I'd like to know, I'm glad to see that a small part of you can be happy for him as well. Painful though that may be.
No, but I don't know if I'm happy for Jim Harbaugh. I'm not happy.
Is that going too
I'm
far?
not happy for him.
That's
That
going
is
too far,
going too
sorry.
far.
Me.
But I like your point about change it up. I like changing up the mix in the college football playoff because honestly, just being real. Like we were talking with Ryan Harris last week, and I asked him a question that I already knew the answer to see how he would answer it, and he answered it like a Notre Dame analyst would. I said, "How have you improved? How have you improved since last year when Notre Dame got into the playoffs and people weren't happy about it. Oh, yeah, our depth is much better. Of course. Nah, not really. Not much has changed. And I got to tell you, not much has changed with Ohio State losing last year, getting overwhelmed by Alabama in the national championship game with a pretty corny offense last year. Like, it was corny. It was corny. And they lost to Oregon. They lost to Oregon at home and had no signs of like being able to adjust and figure out what Oregon was doing. And some of the things in that Oregon game weren't cleaned up, but Ohio State had went on a little bit of an offensive rampage, dropped that 56 on Michigan State, so we forgot about it. Dropped 50 plus on Purdue and gave up 31. We forgot about it. Michigan exposed what was never corrected in Ohio State's early season flaws. So I will tell you, just to be totally honest here, Ohio State was overrated, and so is Michigan. So is Michigan. They're both overrated.
Okay.
They're both overrated.
Speaking,
so if Michigan gets into the playoffs, it's not going to end well for them either.
Speaking of total honesty, Lincoln Riley, he didn't lie Saturday night, right?
Yeah.
Lincoln, are you shocked that you've gotten this far without anybody asking you about all the rumors this week?
I'm just
saying I'm gonna ask you about it, so I might as well. I mean, it's nonstop. I mean, it's every day.
Hold up, Gary. I'm not going to be the next head coach at LSU.
Can I ask you?
Next question.
What an awful line of questioning. What an awful line of questioning. But we're not going to beat my man up. We're not going to beat you up for it. We're going to let you live because it's so obvious how awful that line of questioning was. Having said all that, how about that for a come up for Lincoln Riley, who from a prestige standpoint makes a lateral move. From a program prestige standpoint. But I'm very specific here. Oklahoma and USC, college football prestige, that's what? That's 6 over half a dozen the other. In terms of like college football history, okay? The dude's been in the playoffs, 3 out of 5 years, 4 out of whatever it is. He's got one of the highest winning percentages of all time in those 5 years at Oklahoma.
Come on.
But
no way.
But from an but moving forward, from a prestige standpoint, from a program prestige standpoint. But when it comes to lifestyle, I mean, there's no comparison between LA and Norman. And when it comes to a path to the playoffs, he obviously made out like gangbusters, which is why it was an easy decision, which is why if we're going to assume that, wink, wink, I can't really wink that way. We're going to assume that this happened after Bedlam was the first time that USC offered him the gig, okay?
Yeah.
He's looking at it like, wait a second, I got to go to the SEC and try to get through Alabama and Georgia and whoever's coaching at LSU, or I can go recruit Southern California and go through the Pac-12. Sign me up for this Pac-12 career chance here, which is a springboard to the NFL if he goes to USC.
And I'm sure.
Well, he could have gone to the NFL from Oklahoma. I'll take that back. He could have gone to the NFL from Oklahoma too, given all the quarterbacks that have gone on to greatness. I'm sure
it's debatable from a. It's probably regional. The way you answer this question probably depends on where you grew up. Oklahoma versus USC in terms of prestige. Nationally, I would think most people would look at USC as the more desirable, more high-profile, sexier job, just overall. But beyond that, let's just put that aside for a second. I need Mike Smith.
It's a better job for Lincoln Riley if you want to get to the playoffs.
I need the teacher, though. I need the mentor. I need the veteran journalist to help us out. What should have happened there? Because Lincoln Riley big boyed that report. He big boyed him. Hey, stop right now. Oh, no. Hey, I'm not going to be the next coach at LSU. Next question. No, wait. Right. Okay. How should that have been handled? What do? You say, hey, just to follow up here, Lincoln, you said you're not going to be the head coach at LSU. So you're saying you're staying in Oklahoma? Is that what the reporter should have
Yeah.
done?
Yeah.
Right? Jump back in.
Yeah.
Don't let, you know. And
Or
it's
what,
tough.
or what about USC? Or what? It's tough. It's tough because it's college. Because you're dealing with an all-powerful college coach who shut down. Last time we talked about Oklahoma is when they shut down all media access because the student paper broke that Caleb Williams was going to be the starting quarterback over Spencer Rattler, who is now leaving Oklahoma today. No surprise. Lincoln's entire staff is going with him. And check this out. Let me run this by you. This is another reason why this was a come up for Lincoln Riley. Besides the fact, and it was, by the way, it's 3 playoff
He's so
appearances
whack,
in 5
though.
years.
Lincoln Riley is so whack. That what he did there is so terrible. It's terrible. Just say, I'm not going to talk. I'd rather him go the Cliff Kingsbury route and say, I'm not going to talk about it right now. But say, hey, I'm not going to be the head
Let
coach
me just cut you off.
at LSU.
At LSU.
It
is whack. It is whack. But let me tell you what's not lame. And let me tell you why, if I'm Lincoln Riley, I could care less how you feel I handled the post-Bedlam press conference. Unconfirmed, but this is the reported terms of the deal. $110 million. USC is buying both his homes in Norman for $500,000 over asking. They're buying a $6 million house in LA for him and unlimited use of the private jet 24/7 for his family.
How's this
So-
college football? How is this college football?
Well, it's not. And Nick Saban went on an epic rant, which was awesome the other day, about how it's not professional football. I'll be damned. It was
Yeah,
awesome for a lot of reasons, but he was wrong
It
about that
wasn't an
part.
awesome rant. He was wrong.
It was awesome.
And, yeah,
it was
and
awesome.
but you know,
Because Nick
this guy,
Saban is
like,
awesome.
stop-
His rants are awesome.
But his rants are awesome. But you know, you can fact check these things. They don't pass the fact check. You know, he's sitting there doing his radio show, and they're just kids, and they gotta study, and they're, you know, they're like, stop, Nick, stop. No, they're not. They're not just kids. And if his players said that to him, hey, coach, what do you want from me? I'm just a college student. I'm trying to study. That's why I'm at Alabama. He would say, get off the field. Yeah, he doesn't believe that. He doesn't believe what he just said.
But having said all that, great get for USC. Like, fight on. Like that, I mean, they win. They win. They've always claimed they can get whoever they want. A lot of these names have been like, yeah, good luck with that. They got one of the hottest coaches, the hottest coach they could possibly get in college football.
They did.
And he got $110
Under
million.
40 too. Under 40 years old. Pretty impressive.